Alright. Pretty sure we're good. Check something real quick. Oops. There we go. I'm here. Don't worry. Hi, everyone. Would I mind showing this ghoulish mug of mine? I mean, like, it was in there for a couple of seconds yesterday. Things fell apart. When the bass for this fell down. Is the music I just vibed to? This is the music from Down the Rabbit Hole, as written by Ryan Probert. Oh dear. Hold on. There we go. Okay, I realized that the camera wasn't locked in. That could have been a problem. Today we're going to have Evan Hadfield on. Oh, god damn it. I guess we're going to be measuring with half teaspoons again. If I'm a fake tea drinker, if I actually cared, then I would use a weight measure. Scale. There you go. The ghoul. Just take it from him. I look like a ghoul. The Appalachian dulcimer? Absolutely. They're just kind of around. I see them sometimes. Just sometimes people randomly have Appalachian dulcimers. You have the same teaspoons? The Betty Crocker. Hello, Q-Star. So this time, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is completely new to me. Not only have I never steeped this tea before, I've never steeped this kind of tea before. This is a pu'er. This is like the darling of all the tea snobs right now. It's a sort of fermented tea, and there's a little bit more to the process than most other teas. Give me a moment, I think. So first of all, what's interesting about this tea is I'm going to have to heat the water up to boiling. It's one of the only teas that you actually steep at boiling. Didn't I have a horror channel? No. Down the Rabbit Hole is my first real YouTube venture. FYI. It's... I mean, kind of. I've done a few other things, but I never really did them that seriously. You know why we're here? I mean, you don't have to like tea to like hanging out and talking with interesting people like my guest who's coming up, Evan Hadfield. Evan Hadfield is one of those people that I get imposter syndrome around, because Evan Hadfield feels like that next level creator. I feel like there's a gap between us. Pu'er tastes like dirt. I know that a lot of pu'ers, like... I'm not huge on pu'ers usually, but this was one in particular that I enjoyed. And so I got it. This is literally the only pu'er that I own. It's the first pu'er I've ever owned. I've had it, but we'll see how it goes when I steep it, of course. Come on. I'm trying to do this without completely destroying the packaging so that I can still use the bag. Am I just gonna have to leave it like that? All right, fine. Fine. I don't care. It's perfect. It is as it's supposed to be. Fantastic. Damn it. So this is a pu'er from Zhou Wang Tea. Here, I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see it. This stuff. Haha. On the back it says, "We hike the mountains, feel the soil, breathe the air, and taste the tea leaves to find the best source material for our tea." I feel like only the last of those is really necessary to figure out The tea is good. Every tea leaf passes through the masterful hands of our team makers to reach its fullest potential. We collect, store, and cherish each of our teas for what they are, natural works of art. Enjoy a pot of Zhuohuang tea and notice the wonderful taste, smell, and most importantly, the relaxation, happiness, and contentment that fine tea provides. Except pu'er. No. Is it worth the hype and money? If you like it, that's the problem with tea. It's like, if you like it, then it's good, right? Unless it's Lipton. Lipton's a ripoff. Lipton isn't tea. Not really. It's just bag disappointment. Literally, think about it like this. Anytime you drink Lipton tea, think about how much sugar is in it. If you have to put that much sugar into the tea, is it really worth drinking? Is it really worth drinking it as tea? Why not just take out the tea at that point? Do I like coffee? I don't drink it. It gives me the jitters. But it tastes nice. You can get pu'er cheap. I don't know about... I don't know how true that is in America. Because they just released some of the sanctions recently. And that's why pu'er is sort of flooding the market right now. Here's the problem, right? There are some tea bags that are okay. The problem with tea bags is that often the low-grade tea bags are literally the worst tea that you can buy because they're just the shakings from tea leaves. Like, they shake it off and then they put the powder in bags and sell it to people. It's like the detritus of better tea. But even beyond that, if the tea leaves are all clumped up in the bag like that, then the water can't circulate through the leaves, and so you can't actually get like the proper flavor out of it. You can't get as much flavor out of it. On top of that, the tea leaves tend to be like crushed in the bag, and so you don't get like broken up leaves tend to get more tannins, as I understand it. It gets more bitter. Was there ever any major? And if it seems like I'm ignoring your chat, I swear I'm not. There's a lot to get through. Someone's asking about Yandere Dev. That's interesting. That's a whole thing. I'm not ignoring your sand advice. Don't worry. Alright, don't worry, I'll eat the leaves. No, I'm not going to eat the leaves. I'm gonna warm up the cup first. There we go. So, pu'er also is a little bit tricky in that you're not going to... Oh! Hello. I did not realize. I thought that this was loose leaf, but it is not. Interesting. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have a tea spike. So I'm just going to have to guesstimate this. We want about 7 grams for what I'm making. So this is going to be tricky. We're doing this caveman style. There we go. We'll do maybe a little bit more. Let me see, how's that look? It's tricky. I've never tried pu'er. So this, let me see. First, we're going to want to rinse the leaves a couple of times. Consume the tea chalice. Yep. Let's see. Take a bite out of it. Forbidden cracker. That'll be good. Do it all? No. Okay. We're going to try this. And we're going to see how it goes. This is an estimation. This might not be enough tea, but we'll see. It might be too much. So what we're going to do first is we're going to do a couple of short steeps, like 10 seconds long each, just to wake up and rinse the leaves. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll do like 15. 14, 15. And we'll just dump it. It's okay. And then we'll let it steam for a minute. I actually should probably let it steep longer since it's packed up. Oh boy, I'm hearing the ceramic bowl make sounds and I'm a little bit scared. Because it is boiling water. We'll let it steam for like a minute. Make the brown. This series has been a huge boon for a lot of us in the quarantine. I'm so glad. That was my goal. Hey, ceramic bowl, please don't break. I hear it. I can hear it like... Oh, that's spooky. This will actually be colder, but add more heat. I actually want this for just a moment. I'm working a little bit constricted, but that's okay. Ooh, the cup's nice and warm. Okay. I think we can rinse the leaves again. Yeah, right. Lou was giving me an interesting statistic that the Irish actually drink more tea than the British, and the British drink more alcohol than the Irish. Let's look at that. Ooh, that's cool. Yeah, it's breaking up the leaves. You can see that it's not nearly so solid anymore. Let's do another, like, 20 seconds steep to rinse it. 1, 2. Ooh, look at that color. I don't know if you can see that. You can. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm like counting in my head. That's why I'm being so quiet. 3, 4. Also, by the way, super chats are going to be read at the end of the stream. There we go. Getting a little bit spooked if the ceramics keeps making sounds, but we'll see. It was fired. It should have been fine. All right, we'll let it steam again for just a little bit longer. Would I continue? Would I consider continuing this stream after the pandemic's over? I mean, I never intended this to be something that I do for a terribly long time. It's just something that seemed nice. I think I'm just making dead air. It's not something that I really intended to go for that long. I don't know that I have the energy for it, frankly. It would be quite tiring. I tried being a streamer a while ago. I mentioned this in a few streams, but I was at one point a Twitch streamer. And I was making it pretty good, but I had to stop because I was getting burnt out. It was just not something that I could continue. How am I? I'm doing okay. I'm very gradually getting my energy back. I'm having a good time. These streams have been reinvigorating. It's nice. Need some real British tea. The fake green stuff you drink is masty. Boy, this is puer. I'm a step above your British tea at this point. Let's go ahead and try steeping it. Let me double check. I got a little bit of help before. I'm going to check real quick what they were suggesting. Yeah, 2 rinses, 20 seconds to 30 seconds each, then brew. Yeah. Oh, interesting. 45 seconds. So it's a little bit like sencha, where the steep time changes with each steep, but it doesn't necessarily get longer or shorter each time. All right, 45 seconds. Now that we've woken up the teas. Let's see how it goes. This might go horrendously, or might go wonderfully. We'll see. No, we are a step beyond British black tea at this point. Here we go. I'm a little bit scared that I'm screwing this up really badly. But we'll see. Ooh, look at that. Look at that color. Goodness gracious. Why this format? Because, right, the idea came because I hate mukbangs, and I'm like, here, I'll make an anti-mukbang. But it just seemed like a nice, chill way to spend quarantine. Maybe give people a little bit of peace. Vice is trash? Yeah. It sure seems that way nowadays. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that color. Goodness. I'll leave it there. It's gonna have to cool if I don't want to slurp it. I know people are making fun of me for calling it a mukbang, but as far as I'm aware, ow, Jesus Christ, that's hot. I'm gonna have to give it a minute. But as far as I'm aware, that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. I know Americans, I wonder actually if there's been a change in vernacular because, the Korean style of doing it is a little bit different. And I wonder if, so they call it mukbang. But then it comes to America and you get more overweight people consuming massive amounts of food. And I wonder if that's the point where it becomes a mukbang. Because I feel like that's... it feels more accurate. Mukbang. Any new videos coming out? Oh, right. I should probably... I say this at the beginning of every stream pretty much, but the next video is just in the video editing phase. It will not be much longer. Ryan's making the music. He's already made a significant... he's made significant progress on it, and it's sounding great. Is there any word on me and Vinesauce Joel doing a podcast? I don't think he even knows that I exist, frankly. His DMs on Twitter are closed, and he's, as I understand it, an infamously difficult man to get a hold of. So it's like, whatever. All right. We're about 20 minutes in. Let's get the boy in here. Oh, Evan.
Hello, hello.
Hey.
You can hear me fine?
Yeah, you're sounding just fine.
All right, cool.
Oh, yeah, and everyone, if you have to leave, don't worry. These streams will be uploaded to the other channel tonight. This one will be. The others are already there, actually.
All right, sorry, I had to turn off the little live stream there because I was getting myself doubled.
Oh, no, you're totally fine. Ow, Christ, that is hot. You have to steep puer at boiling. So, oof. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Oh, hello, my name's Evan. Some of you in the comments apparently already know me. I don't really know how to introduce myself. Kind of a weird person. Currently, I run a YouTube channel called Rarer, but I think almost everybody would more recognize me from my famous father, who's a Canadian astronaut who I sort of ran a social media campaign for about 7 or 8 years ago. That turned him into a public figure, kind of.
And he really is a public figure at this point, but you were the guy like behind the screen.
I mean, obviously there's many people behind it. It's a huge organization, but in terms of his, I guess you could call it fame, yeah, absolutely. Just me in my underpants in Germany. Very, very confused by the success. Well,
yeah, I remember. I remember when we started chatting, and you just casually dropped, "Oh yeah, I lived in Germany for a while," and I already had imposter syndrome when I started talking with you, and that just amped it up to 11. I'm like, this guy, he's been everywhere. He's done everything.
I've been a lot of places, that's for sure. But I think that people fetishize being somewhere else a lot, and I think once you take away that fetishization and you actually like make it your lifestyle, because for me, I've been to, I don't know, 120 countries or something like that, and I've lived on almost every continent, whatever. And to me, that is a normalcy. It's not interesting in a certain respect. I think it's like a grass is greener type situation.
Yeah, and I don't want to say like, oh, he lives in Germany, therefore he's like top tier, right? It's more that
there's a lot of people living in Germany.
There's a lot of people of different calibers in Germany.
Yeah.
You have your Evan Hadfields and you have your Drachenlords, right?
Yeah.
Are you familiar?
And if you've been to Germany, I can translate it to Dragon Lord, but that, no, I don't know.
Oh, he's called the German Christian. But because he's in Germany, like Germans have no chill, and so everything that happens with him is like taken up to 11.
Germans have chill. It's just not within their spectrum of what they consider their work. They like to do their work. They're very like at home chill people. They
but as soon as they get out of the home. Right.
It's once it's their response. It's like, I can't remember the term that they taught us in philosophy or psychology class, but it's internal authority. There are people who have incredibly strong internal authority, and therefore, if they have a responsibility, they feel far more driven. Same in Japan, as far as my experience, Switzerland, Austria. There's like an impulse to do the thing that you are responsible for. Whereas me, personally, despite being Germanic, do not feel that responsibility.
Yeah, you just globetrot. That's all you do.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay, I think we're good. I'm going to slurp away from the mic. No ASMR here tonight.
I could still hear that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know you could still hear it. That is, I remember why I bought this tea again.
Yeah, how else would I describe myself? I would say right now, my real goal, the reason that I started doing this YouTube thing is that once Dad became famous, I really maybe it's a Canadian thing as well, but I didn't like it at all. Just the concept of it, it's very uncomfortable. People knowing who you are before you're in a room, I don't like that. I'm just not that type of person. And so, and neither is anyone in my family, frankly. So for us to have this happen, it was kind of like, well, what are you supposed to do with that? Right? Like what's the actual point? Why have that? And eventually there's a certain amount of money, which I don't have, granted, but there is a certain amount of money where you just don't I know people who have billions of dollars and they are not happy with what they have. So you can't focus on that either. So if you want to turn this fame into money, I mean, then all you're really doing is just pimping yourself out, and that's kind of gross. So
I was kind of talking about it yesterday. At some point you're spending all of your time getting money, but if you're just getting money and not doing anything with it, what's the point? Like, money is a vehicle.
Yeah, and not just that, but I don't know, everybody's a millisecond away from dying, right? So there you have to balance everything with the choices that you're making all the time. I don't know, money's just one of them. It's just this little piece on a multi-scale balance. So
Right.
up until, like, I always tell people whenever people ask me for advice, until you're 30 years old, spend every single penny the moment you get it on yourself, but like skill sets to advance yourself to be better about something.
For sure.
Because by the time you're 30, all you're going to be, especially with the economy going the way it is a series of skills. So
Yep.
you should go and learn those. And sometimes it's easier to learn those somewhere else than where you are right now.
Yeah.
So I always recommend people go to where their interests are. And for me, that has, like, I've got a bit of money now because of what I did with my father. But when I was traveling for the most part back before the YouTube series, I was broke the whole time. And you just find a way to deal with that to keep doing what you want to do. And that was what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then when Dad got famous, it all changed. I had this skill set of being able to travel, and I knew all these people and cultures and things like that. And I thought, well, especially the way things were going at the time when I started the series worldwide, it just felt like people were trying to create the other more than the other needed to be created. We're all very similar. And this just felt like a way to do that. And so I've been stuck with it since.
I gotcha. Yeah, there's something that I was struck by when I went to Europe. What you see as maybe like this huge amazing thing is very normal. Like, it's just normalcy elsewhere. I was struck by just how many castles I passed on the highway. It's like, oh yeah, there's another castle. All right, great.
Yeah,
they're just hanging out.
Where I used to live in Germany, you can walk basically on this ridge line. It's called the Bergstrasse, and it's just castles every 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and they're little. They're like little, I guess you could call them like personal castles, but
Bergstrasse, like Castle Road.
Essentially,
Yeah.
I think that one might be Mountain Road, but it could be Castle Road. I don't actually remember.
Oh yeah, Berg. Yeah, Mountain Road. My bad. Yeah.
Well, it's either one. I just don't recall. But it's
Burg
basically
is castle. Berg is
Heppenheim. Yeah, Heppenheim, Heidelberg, Zwingenberg, all those along the way. And there was this castle that I lived next to called Berg Frankenstein, which is, I mean, they claim it's Mary Shelley driving by in her little carriage or whatever on her way to, I think it was quarantine, but I don't even know what they were doing in Vienna. It was that they were when she wrote Frankenstein was based on that. And it was just this like personal castle up behind our house. Nobody was ever there.
Yeah.
It was like a small town. I love that place.
I remember Regular Car Reviews made a video where he went to a castle and it's like, here's where a ton of people died and there goes a jogger. Right? It's surreal. Like you're seeing like this
Belfast. Belfast, it has so few old, nice buildings. Downtown, right at the downtown square when I went there, one of the only remaining nice buildings is turned into a Tesco. So it's like you have so few left, and one of them is a Tesco. And I understand that's what buildings are. They're operational units, right? They're meant to be used. But at the same time, it just feels so like Europe developed a long time ago, and they're just trying to make do with those beautiful buildings now.
Right. It's fascinating to see buildings of such beauty, like archaic beauty, desperately being turned into something economic. It's I'd call it uncanny.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm pretty desensitized at this stage in my life to a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of bad things, I guess, and a lot of good things, and it has raised the bar for what sets me off, I suppose. Hard to say.
Mm-hmm. You think your senses are already dulling. You're already becoming an old man. Oh no! Oh my God! You're the ancestor from Darkest Dungeon.
I feel like I was born an old man, though.
I've been told the same thing. Like, what is it? Growing up, I was always told you have an old soul, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that means you don't get along with other kids. That's the nice.
Yep, that's a nice way of putting it, right?
That was the aunt way of putting that. Yeah.
Oh, that's been the code. Oh no. Yeah, okay. No, that's fair. That's fair, though.
A person named Lou is asking me in comments if I've seen the other castles in other parts of Ireland in Donegal. I've not seen almost anything in Ireland. I'd like to do a season there. My sister she went to university in Ireland, in Dublin at Trinity, where she did her PhD. So I've been to Ireland to go see her, but I've never like traveled it. I've never really seen it, honestly. However, I've a funny story with Donegal, which is why I brought this up, which is they have such a thick accent there, an Irish accent, just ununderstandable if you're not from around there. Absolutely the most difficult accent I've ever come across in English. And I did a radio interview there when Dad was in space, because Dad obviously couldn't do the interviews. So I was trying to handle as many of them as I could just to get the word out there. And I did this one in Donegal, and the guy, he asked me my first question, and I did not get a single word of his sentence, not one. So I asked him to repeat it, and I didn't get it one on the second run. And like, I'm live on air. I can't ask him a third time.
Right.
Hey man, your English is not working for me, right? And so I just guessed. I just guessed what his question was, and I answered it based on what I thought the answer, what I presume a first question in an interview would be. And then he asked another question, and I just had nothing. So I just kept answering them based entirely on this is what I presume would be asked at this stage in an interview. But I had no idea. Honestly, no idea what the man was saying.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I'm normally very good with accents too. That's my life, right?
What was the post-interview? Well, I guess if you couldn't understand him, it's hard for you to be offended if he yells at you.
Oh, he wasn't upset. I'm sure I was good enough. It's also very small radio. We're talking maybe 150 listeners or something like that.
Sure.
It's not a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's funny. Just if you ever want to make something famous, always go to the 150 listeners before the 15 million, because those 150 are actually listening. I find that to be a trick that people don't recognize these days. Everybody wants the million views.
Well, we were kind of talking about that earlier on. Like, I saw that when I started streaming my net, and I'm totally fine chatting about this, by the way, about like these numbers. Like, I saw that my subscriber count was like stagnating, and I was like, what's going on? So I went and I had a suspicion. I suspected that people were seeing these streams and like unsubscribing. But I saw, and I went into the numbers, and it's like, yeah, I'm getting a ton of unsubscribes from these streams. But at the same time, I'm getting about the same number of subscribers coming in. And like the people who are falling off, those are people who probably weren't going to stick around that long anyway. It's not about the subscriber count. It's not about the number of people who know your name. It's about the number of people who are going to interact with you. Those are the important people, because there's actually a concept on YouTube called empty subscribers, where I'm sure you've seen it. You have a channel with 1.5 million views, subscribers, but their videos each have like 5,000-10,000 views at the max. That definitely was the case with Darkside Phil. Like, he had all these subscribers and nobody was watching his videos.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, just from a person who has had a subscriber count loss multiple times, just the way that I do things, my thought process is more like, I know a lot of vloggers who have had that rise and fall, and I've seen their mental health challenges that have come from it, because they've clearly, even though they're saying they're not doing it or they're talking about not doing it, they're attaching themselves to the numbers. They just have to be, because it's so natural to see the numbers rise and get the dopamine hit and whatever. I don't know the science, but see them fall and it hurts. And if you in any way engage yourself in that, it's like a slippery slope. It just makes it worse, because it will have an end. And if you're not doing the things that you want to be doing with it, then then it's just a business, and then you might as well treat it as just a business. And especially with the thing that I'm doing, I mean, I make no money. In fact, I'm deep in the hole intentionally, because my question was more, what do you do with fame? It wasn't how am I going to make money from my fame. It's what are you supposed to do with it?
Right.
And I don't have the fame, but we had this YouTube channel that wasn't going to get used for years and years. just sitting there. And I thought, well, I mean, there's more to be said. I originally made Rare Earth for my father to host. He just didn't have the time.
Right.
And I still felt like somebody should do it, you know?
Mm-hmm. I have some interesting things in chat, and people are making interesting points. Like, people did hit the bell, and now they're getting spammed with these streams. That is an interesting concern. Don't want to be doing that to my viewers. Of course, you know, I'm unlisting the videos. They're not going to stick around in the long term on my channel. But
yeah, I had the same thinking process whenever I went to Okinawa, and I have a friend who has a bar there, and I just sort of put out a, hey, if anybody wants to come meet me for a little meetup. But that also kind of puts everybody who gets the bell a little notification, right? So
right.
on one hand, for certain people, that was a very nice thing, and they were happy it was done. But on the other hand, you know, it's the balance of doing what you want to do and pleasing certain groups, and then making sure that you're not just pissing off all the people who are here because they want to see another Dark Side Phil video or whatever.
Right, yeah. There's such a huge mix of viewers, of people who are here for, like, different reasons. And that's kind of the trick, is I don't have one particular kind of viewer that I'm pushing this toward. It's like there are different people here who are here for totally different reasons, and it's tricky. It's a really tricky balance. I also recognize that I can't please all of them 100% of the time. And to be fair, these streams are sort of an experiment more than anything else. I'm just trying it on for size. It's probably not something that I'll do again in the future. But
well, and even though your content is very strong and viewed heavily, it's also for respect. Like, it's not the sort of thing that people would show their mother excitedly, you know, like it's a thing that people like, and they go back to it for that specific thing. So to be a niche is also difficult, just because you have to be a niche, you know. You want to do all these things. I want to do all these things with my channel as well, and it's just like a struggle of deciding how much I can push it, you know, bend the whatever it is, pull the rubber band.
Yeah. No, I gotcha. This tea ended up working out pretty well, actually. It's not bitter at all. It's fantastic.
My tea's great. I don't know what my tea is. My wife came and brought it so that I would have something to sip.
It's just a tea of one sort or another.
No, it's special. She does all things with the tea. We met in Japan when I went to university in Japan. Oh, someone in your comments wants to hear me getting robbed in Bosnia. That's a story I haven't told online.
Right, yeah.
Maybe I'll tell that story, if you don't mind, just so that guy can hear it.
Yeah, go for it. No, please.
So for those of you who don't know, I don't really, I'm not a risk taker, but for my series to find a lot of the stuff, I have to go to or talk to unsafe people or unsafe places. And one of those places that wasn't actually all that unsafe was Sarajevo, Bosnia. But I happened to be out interviewing a guy in the local mafia there at 2 a.m. And I was walking home with myself and my two guys, and we were passing by the Ali Pasha Mosque, which is sort of like a central location, that big artery, 5 streets going out in all different directions. And there were just 9 or 10 people just screaming, running down that main road out into the artery, screaming. And we're like, fuck, it's 2 a.m., 10 people running down a road like that's a problem. Probably shouldn't swear, sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah, okay.
These aren't monetized. That's one of the reasons that
all right, cool.
It's not actually these streams aren't being pushed super hard by the algorithm because they're not monetized at all.
Yeah, normally I'm good about that, but I'm thinking about getting mugged. And so one guy comes running our way, and I sort of grab his shoulder as he's running by to stop him, and I ask him, what's up? And he looks me in the eye, and he just goes, mafia, and he just bolts into this cab, and he takes the only cab there and starts off in the cab. So me and my two guys, we turn and we start running backwards, but we're 150 meters, if that, from our building. It is just right there. If I could get in there, no problem. So I go up to the next alley, and the one of the guys who works for me is a bit rougher. He has experience in this field, let's say, and he takes the first corner left, and we follow him. But he's about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 meters in front of us, if that, maybe 3 or 4 meters in front of us. And we're running down this small alleyway, about the width of an average apartment building. And just before we get to the end, there's this triangle of darkness from where the street light goes down, and 3 guys step out from that darkness when we're, I don't know, 5-6 meters from them. And one of them, all you can see, you can't see their faces because of the way the street light is, but you can just see this chrome of this pistol in the first middle guy's hand, and he pulls it back to cock it and puts it right to my buddy's face, right in the very front of us.
Yeah.
So it's, inch or 2 from his face. And that guy's had a lot of experiences in his life that are dangerous, and he said this is the only time when he was just certain they were going to pull the trigger, because they weren't trying to rob us. They were clearly out looking for another group of drug dealers who they were running off the corner, and we, being 3 men with a backpack running around at whatever 2 a.m. looked exactly like that. So they yell out something in Bosnian, and my buddy, he yells out Canadian or something like that, Canadian tourist, and just drops his body like a rag doll below the gun. And one of the other 3 guys grabs the guy with the gun's chest and says, "Turista, these are tourists. Don't kill them." And by that point, we're all on the ground. I'm maybe 6 or 7 meters behind my friend who's at the front, maybe 5 or 6 meters, whatever it is now. And I'm just watching them interact with him, because they've all got their guns out now, and they all have them aimed on his head, and they're deciding what to do. And my only thought is, if they shoot him, I gotta go,
Right.
Because I have not a lot of time here, right? And there's not a lot of places and my cameraman is suffering literal trauma behind me. He's like literally incapable of moving his body type trauma. So I'm trying to deal with that too, asking him, "Are you all that?" and trying to get him to come back to it.
Right.
And I'm just watching them. And as they're walking away from him to come rob us, the guy keeps his gun on his head as he's walking away, in a way that basically said, like, "I'm going to shoot you on the way out." And at that moment, I just had this like, "Oh, should I run right now?" And thank God I didn't. But they came over, robbed us, whatever. But that wasn't the really bad part. So we get up, we lift up Francesco, my cameraman, because he can't walk. We carry him back to the apartment building, get upstairs. And we go out on the balcony, and I smoke marijuana, which, again, that's acceptable to say, but I do, so there we are. And me and my buddy go out to go smoke on the deck, and we're standing there, and it's now, I don't know, 3:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. And this van rolls up with those guys again, and they're all in the front. There's 3 guys lining the front seat, looking out the front seat window, just looking up at the apartment building as they roll by super slow. All 3 of them staring up, and we catch eyes with 2 of the guys, like lock eyes.
Right.
And they stop the van, get out of the van, and start moving towards the apartment building. And we're like, fuck.
Right, yeah.
Right, so my buddy's and we go inside and close the curtains, turn off the lights. My cameraman is now freaking out because we've sort of brought him back out of his little trauma hole, but now he goes right back into it, drops back to the ground, just alternating between shivering and crying. No control, literally no mental control of his body. And so Eric and I go to the kitchen, we get a knife and scissors. That's all they had that was sizable. And the apartment building has 2 entryways. There's the main entryway, which is like a metallic door, 6 feet or 6 inches thick, 7 inches thick, big, don't enter door. And then the back entrance is a fucking glass door. So it's like, what's the point of having this 7-inch metal defensive barrier when you can just kick through this tiny thing of glass?
Right.
So the first thing I do is I run back and I grab one of the outdoor picnic tables on the balcony, and I shove it up under the glass door, because I'm thinking at the very least to get through that is going to make a lot of noise, right? And I also can't control if they go through 2 doors. You can only really go through the one door. So, like, if I'm going to defend myself, I can't be defending from 2 places if I've got 2 or 3 guys running up the stairs at me. So we opened that main 6-7-inch metal door because it opens into a small foyer that's got like the little shoe area, and it's 1 person width. you can't get two people in there at one time, and it opens into a hallway that goes either way. So my buddy and I open that door so that it could be immediately entered. We stand on either side of the perpendicular bits of that hallway so you can't see us, and we just wait for noise. And we stood there for, I don't know, an hour 20, hour 10 before we decided that they weren't coming. Oh, it was such a frustrating night. And because I got my camera, I couldn't film anything. So then I had to, my cameraman, he was so traumatized, we had to send him back to Italy and just bought a ticket flying home.
Yeah.
But he had the only camera. So I did then go buy a camera somewhere, and they didn't have one in all of Bosnia. They didn't have one in all of Serbia like I needed. And so because it was the weekend, as a holiday weekend, I had to wait 4 days, drive back to Croatia. And by that point, I couldn't finish my season like I wanted to. So it was basically a scrap season because of that. I mean, I did still get 5 episodes out of it, but oh man, it was a brutal day. And they did not get into our apartment, which was very nice. I didn't have to, fucking fight to the death with anybody.
Right.
Which I really didn't want. But yeah, on the way to that door, I wrote my wife real quick on Facebook, just like, "Love you, about to go die," and no joke, I think those are my exact words. And then
Jesus.
And then I walked to the door, which interesting time. Now it's kind of like a joke between me and my buddies because we made it through, but at the time pretty frustrating. The next morning I made my cameraman get up and walk through where we were mugged just so he could break that bubble.
Right.
The tension of trauma or whatever it was. I don't know. But I figured that couldn't hurt going in the daytime and seeing that it wasn't all super scary.
It's just an alley. It's just a street.
Yeah.
It's,
and I mean, it could happen anywhere too.
I feel like obviously different people deal with that kind of stress in different ways, but as I understand it, there are essentially only two ways to deal with it. You become traumatized or you laugh. Or you become traumatized and laugh. Yeah,
no, I mean, for me again, like I've been through a lot of stuff, and that's definitely not the worst. So for my cameraman, it was really rough. I felt really bad about that because, he didn't sign up for that. I mean, he did, but you still don't want it to happen, right? And I think he's a bigger man for it now. I do think it's benefited him in the long run to see what the world really is, because I think a lot of people are quite sheltered, and he got out of it fine. He was with the right people to experience that with.
Right.
And he knows that. He's verbalized that, he's articulated it to me. So it is, in a way, I'm not going to say a positive, but a learning experience. You can take it however you want to take it, negative or positive. I choose to take it positive because I didn't get shot.
I mean, that's nice. It's
yeah, I mean, it's a plus. It's a plus. But like in Somaliland, for example, in Somalia, I would say that even though it was safer in some respects, I definitely held more tension from that experience than the other one. The other one was just more adrenaline. 2 big spikes of adrenaline in one evening.
Christ. I'm sorry if I'm quiet at dead air. I just I don't know how do you follow that up, right? And then this is what I'm talking about. You've had such fascinating and interesting experiences, and I feel like anything I could possibly say to follow that up would just expose me for the child that I am.
I think that it's not necessarily, a positive thing to have experienced, though. It's just you gotta accept certain things happen when it's cognitive dissonance. If you want to be a smoker, you have to accept lung cancer type stuff. I would like to be this type of person. So I accept that there are dangers to it.
Right.
I just hate risking other people.
Right. Yeah. It's because you brought people along with you, and so in a sense, you're like there's a responsibility that you place on yourself.
Yeah, and they're all grown men. They they're taking care of themselves. They're not.
Sure.
They don't feel that way, I should say. But as the source of all this and the person who's sort of driving it forward, obviously, I feel that responsibility. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I got a lot of weird stories. That to me, that's just a story that people want to hear these days because I just put out a bunch of videos that was sort of hinted at in the comments. But
right,
I got so many.
Well, I mean, yeah, you drop. Oh, by the way, I almost died. Though I feel like plenty of people almost die when they're going out and doing things like this. I think that it's the nature of how you almost died that was particularly interesting and of note.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I've almost died a number of times.
Yeah, this
was a memorable one.
Right, I've almost died a ton of times too, but like, they're not remarkable.
Yeah, it's funny because recently I went on a really nice filming trip to Japan to these parts of the Okinawan island called the Yaeyama Islands, and specifically this one island called Yonaguni, which is a really nice place. And I would go and live there, in the quiet of the countryside of small town Japan in a heartbeat.
Yonaguni, that was the town with the poems on the stones, right?
Poems on the stones. I don't think so.
What am I thinking?
So this isn't a town. This is like an island's island. This is if you took Hawaii and then took their most obscure little island. This would be the Japanese version of that.
Okay. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to remember which one because you've talked about it before.
Yeah, I definitely did a number of. Yeah, the women. So it's an island that Japan considered sexual. Because it was so far away that they could, basically.
Yes, I remember the video now. I remembered it before, but I was just trying to figure out which one. Yeah, it's the one where they're like, oh, the women there, like, you go there and there is sex. Like,
yeah, exactly. and the underwater is pointed out.
Yeah,
the little conspiracy theory bait under there. But I've always wanted to. Absolutely great, just perfect for me, especially since I speak enough Japanese to get by, and it's a very remote, non-foreignized, I guess you could call it, part of Okinawa. And because of that, when I got home and people asked me about it, I was kind of disappointed because I was like, honestly, nothing exciting happened. Mm-hmm. There was no gun in my face. I didn't almost get skinned alive like in Somaliland. Nothing crazy happened. I didn't come back with a wild tale of adventure. And that was kind of sad in its own way. Like, the difficulty has its value. Like, climbing a mountain's way better view than if you take the gondola up or whatever that thing's called.
Right.
You just appreciate it more because there was risk and danger and thrill and all that.
Sure, of course. Although then again, I took a sort of gondola up up a cliff to a castle, like a cliffside castle, and I don't know, that felt pretty adventurous to me. Like, you've got nothing but glass separate, like, this thing is moving and it's like kind of jittery going up. I'm like, all right, yeah, I feel like I've risked my life enough, and this isn't like a roller coaster where these things are tested constantly, right? Like, I mean, God knows, how much this thing is tested. It's a little bit jittery, and you can hear the motor working when you get on. It's like, that's enough excitement for me. I'm good.
Yeah, that's funny because to me, I try not to be. I don't know. It's hard. It's like if somebody says, "Wow, that is the most beautiful place on earth," they're probably right within their frame of reference.
Right.
They're absolutely not lying to you. They're not being incorrect, but it is such a total dick move for me to say, well, it's actually not that great.
It's like, it's okay.
But it isn't, right? And so I have to catch myself so often, like with that gondola ride, for example. Right. If you were freaked out about it, there would be such a huge part that was like, yeah, but
no.
We've done these 1,000 times, right?
See, if you said that, I wouldn't have been offended. But then again, I'm not going to be bothered by something like that. Also, internet historian is asking you if you saw where they faked the moon landing.
I think the moon landing conspiracy theory is one of the funniest things because it's like all it makes absolutely no sense outside of itself. You have to be completely contained within its world for it to make sense. But like the coronavirus conspiracy I see all the time now. If the only sources of information you're operating from are the ones being presented by the conspirator, denier, whatever it is, then it's like, wow, those all make sense. But then any little bit of logic applied, like why didn't Russia at any point mention that? No, you didn't. We have all the technology to prove you wrong.
Sometimes
no, we're gonna play along.
Yeah. No, it's fun to play along. It's interesting. It's like a mental exercise, even if the plot is sometimes kind of like reading a bad young adult novel where things happen just to move the plot.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is there to move the plot, and the only things like that exist always wrap into it. Oh, what was it? Somebody accused me of being involved in... Yeah, right. So I have a video that I filmed in Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. Trying to remember what it's about. Oh, the donkey slaughtering. China opening...
Yes.
Going so poorly.
I recall. I remember this, yes.
In that video, I used the phrase, when China sneezes, the world catches cold. And I obviously released that video long before coronavirus. But people have already come on accusing me of being involved in a cover-up because it aligns, right? And everything, when you're within that mindset, is just you're looking for the puzzle pieces.
Right, yeah.
So all you're really doing is just trying to fit things in to a pre-existing space.
Right. Yeah. It's I remember watching some particularly like popular videos from conspiracy theorists because I learned that there is an entire section of YouTube that's dedicated to this, and it's quite popular. Hundreds of thousands of views are funneled to these videos.
Oh, dude, try being an astronaut's kid. You know how much of this shit I deal with day to day?
Christ, yeah, I can't even imagine.
I mean, you get some really angry and irrational people.
Right.
Because astronauts are like the epicenter to every conspiracy theory. They're all somehow involved with that. It's all the chemtrail stuff. It's all the moon landing stuff. It's all the alien stuff. It's all the lizard people stuff. It all comes back to outer space, the thing that we can't, define, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I've lived my whole life with conspiracy theorists as a constant, din in the background, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's something that you just kind of learn to, like, either you leave entirely or you learn to accept it. It's true for like YouTube comments, for example. Like there's some people that can handle it and some people that just can't.
Lou is asking if I've had experience with flat earthers. I think that I'm going to do a video on it coming up this week, but essentially talking about flat earth negative way is why it has spread. That's it. That's the sole reason. Nobody would believe it if we'd just shut up. If we'd stop making fun of them for being so stupid, which they are, don't get me wrong, but if we'd stop making fun of them for it, it would stop. That's all it is. It's making fun of them that spreads it, and we like it because it's our 2 minutes of hate. That's just...
Yeah. Hey, that's a 1984 reference. I got that.
Yeah.
I actually, I recognized it because I read the first chapter of 1984 from my Patreon just a little while ago.
But that said, almost every conspiracy theory I've ever come across has a basis in some sort of reality that is being skewed to cause this. Like, for example, I'm going to do a very big video, presumably in the future, on the Masons, the Freemasons, and South America. Because if you look at South American history, during the 1800s, Freemasonry toppled almost every single government. Freemasons took over. Simon Bolivar, the entirety of the revolution of South America, and to a lesser extent North America, was on the back of Freemasonry. But you could say literally the exact same thing about coffee shops in London a single generation before, because that's where people could collect and talk in secret about politics. That's all it is. So if you're going to conspire against a king or an emperor or a monarch who will literally imprison and kill you for saying those things, well, a secret club where everybody there knows they're not going to talk to other people. I mean, that's where that dissent could rise.
Right.
So it's almost like yes, that is a conspiracy to quote unquote take over the world, but you could also, in another way, define it as revolution happens when people can talk in secret. You could define it either way, but we've taken it to this extreme of like, oh man, he's 6 million. It's just ridiculous. But if you go to Uruguay, for example, then you've got like Trente Trace, a city named after the 33 Orientals, which is what they call Oriental, meaning Eastern, Eastern being Banda Oriental, the original name of Uruguay. They would say the 33 Orientals are they weren't actually 33 people. It's just that Masonry really likes the number 33. So their entire nation is based on a lie from Masonry for their own internal little purposes. There's a ton of that shit that's real. It's absolutely true. However, to claim that they're in charge of things now, or that even back then they were truly in charge, it's just the clubhouse that those men were able to talk in. Right. And so it's a society of people who had money and power who didn't like monarchy. It's just the nobles. So so I think, and like I did that one video on UFOs and alien abductions, which is really just human invasion being remembered through folk history. There's so many ways to go back and say, but there's a reason we tell these stories. These stories usually come with a reason. And I think conspiracy theories, we just don't give it enough credit for the reason, basically, that people no longer like I know I'm just sort of streaming at you here, but
it's okay.
The flat earth stuff. So in the United States since 1972, it might be 1974, I don't know the number off the top of my head, the bottom 20% of the United States has not made a single percent more income, real income, in those 50 years. Not 1% growth for 20% of the nation. And yet, if you listen to the news, if you look at the TV, well, the GDP is going crazy. The stocks are doing well. The economy is doing amazing. Everything is getting better. And if you go and look at, like, my father-in-law, for example, grew up in communism and ended up in a cult when communism collapsed. And a lot of that came from the fact that the news told him a lie, and he knew they were lying. So the first person to tell him they're lying, well, that person had the truth now. And so the shift went all towards that other person, because he threw away everything, because everything was attached to this liar, And so I think that the United States is experiencing a very similar situation with an information overdose, where you just get, the truth is there if you searched it out, but there's just so many lies being thrown all the time that you just believe someone who tells you, oh no, don't listen to all that, I have all the answers for you.
Right. Like if they say no, that's a lie, well, they've already told you one truth, so maybe they have more truth. They immediately have at least one point in their favor.
You become a reputable source. They agree everybody's lying.
I see what you're saying.
And that's sort of what brings you into it. With flat earth, the thing that we've had, I'm not going to say the most trouble with, but the one that I found the most interesting is there was a guy who was made famous. He did a TED Talk for trading a paperclip to become a house, I think. I don't know exactly what it was, but he's out in British Columbia. And he was protesting when my father was giving a talk there, because he's a huge flat earther. And I thought that showed the power of the human brain, that he's not an idiot. He's not mentally incapable thinking these things. He's been deceived somehow through his own workings. And presumably that has to do with the fact that these days, right now, if you look at information being presented to you as the truth, I mean, think about anyone on Twitter who truth or whatever in their handle, they're always the people who are the freakiest liars, the conspiracy liars, right?
What is it? This came up recently. I think it was who said this is saying you have power is like saying you're a lady if you have to say it, like, a lady being a noble, right? Like if you have to say that you have power, then you don't have power. Where's that quote from? Hold on, if I want to know now. if you have to say...
I'm just going to guess Winston Churchill.
No. Margaret Thatcher. Okay, I was right. I was going to say Margaret Thatcher.
Really? That was kind of close.
Yeah, Margaret Thatcher. This was... Where'd it go? Yeah, it's Margaret Thatcher. It's power is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't. It being like, if...
I can't believe I'm involved in a conversation that's quoting Margaret Thatcher. That's a first for me.
I know, right?
Absolute first.
But that's the whole idea, right? If you have to say that you are like a truther, then it's like immediately it becomes suspect.
Yeah, that's true. No, people are weird. You just got to get over it. Mm-hmm. It's just how it is. I'm weird. We're all wrong about most things, so it's got to be... It's got to be chill, chill with everybody. Oh, man.
This has been good. We've been going for about 50 minutes. How you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm out of tea, though.
No.
That was a lie. My tea just got... I set it off to the side in my storytelling.
What Niles is saying. I mean, this is a sentiment that is immortal, right? Because in... Game of Thrones, it's any man who must say I am the king is no true king.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a lot of ways to frame that, but big talk is always ridiculous. I've always just decided that people can say a lot of things, but just look at what people do.
Yeah, it's easier. It's simpler.
Yeah, if you're dating somebody who's nice to you, not nice to people who help them in general society, then they're probably not actually a nice person.
The one that I heard is the people who always say, I'm not a very dramatic person. If you...
Yeah. No,
I think we all know those people.
Yeah, the line before drama. Yeah. No, I think the best one is calm down, because it has never once had the effect that the words itself are meaning to have, right? Telling someone to calm down always riles them up more. So it's like, what is the point of these words? Or be careful after somebody has tripped. It's like, no shit, man. I got that. I just tripped. I know. I got it.
I've always said, like, there's no such thing as just saying something. I'm just saying, but there's that. I've always said that there's never such a thing as just saying something, but that might actually be a case of it. Oh, be careful after someone has tripped. That's literally a completely meaningless phrase.
Yeah, but we have a lot of meaningless phrases. Language is pretty ridiculous. Just trying to not say something stupid while talking is currently my biggest problem. I mean, being on this little tea chat with you. So,
internet historian saying get panicked can sometimes work.
Oh, that's how I write everything. Being panicked is my entire work. Not even 100% of my content is to panic. Panicking is a great system for me. I know it doesn't work for others, but by God, without panic, I would do nothing.
It certainly gets work done of some caliber, right? For anyone. Well, not anyone, actually. Panic sometimes paralyzes people. No, it depends on the person, I guess. Yeah, I'm a liar. There we go.
Yeah, I think my entire genetic and whatever upbringing has been pushed towards tense situations and dealing with them well. I mean, it's basically what my father would strap himself onto a bomb and hope it went the right way. So,
right. What was it? I think my favorite space exploration quote is who is it? Someone was asked, an astronaut was asked, what were you thinking as you were like about to take off? And he replied, the fact that every piece of this shuttle was made by the lowest bidder.
Yeah, I think that's John Young.
John Young. Okay, thank you.
Might be Al Shepard, but I think it's John Young.
It's like,
so I think it's interesting as well. Such a halo concept, but I've grown up with them as very normalized people.
Right? Yeah.
So it's really weird for me because I don't want to be a dick to other people. It goes back to that same thing about the very nice places, the nicest place on earth, or is this just a place? Well, it very much so depends on if you grew up there. Like
Right.
when I lived in Hawaii when I was young, nobody there understood what they had really. It was so different from those of us who had come in from places that were cold and shit. And it was just like this awesome difference. But when you grow up with something, when you grow up in the space community, they're not these heroic, like Neil Armstrong. I met him in the hospital, in the NASA doctor's office. He was getting a shot. He was real grumpy, and he just treated me badly. Not because he was a dick. He was getting a shot at the doctor's office. Like it's just you just have this normal moment of a normal person trying to get through their day, but because these people are supposedly larger than life, there's the interaction doesn't make sense if they're larger than life. It only makes sense if they're not.
Yeah, I think what happens is someone can view someone who's very good at what they do, right? And immediately, they say, oh, they apply that level of competence to everything else they do in their life. It's like, oh, they're competent at this one thing, and it just that naturally means that they're competent at everything. Like they're amazing.
Or their personalities are amazing, or they're not lovelorn, or they're not, whatever. I mean, they're all human too. Everybody's just a human. And I think that maybe more than traveling growing up was not an eye-opener in a happy way, but excuse me, I had to burp. An eye-opener just generally, like to see how humans really are. Because I think a lot of people really fetishize celebrity as well. And my God, is that just the most tainted and horrible community of people?
Right. The K-pop stands on Twitter.
But yeah, just the concept of it. And I get, being 14, that's different. Like, I understand that, when you're young, you're trying to look for an identity and a collective, and you can find that on the internet much easier than you can in person these days, because you can share interests easier across a broader spectrum of people. But at the same time, if you grow up to be in I don't want to pick on people, but if you're 35 and you have extremely opinions about Star Wars, it's like that's all right, I suppose, but why? Like, there's so much more going on, and that is a children's movie originally, and like there's nothing wrong with it specifically. It just feels like, I don't know, you have to kill an animal to live every day, and this is what we're going to spend it on. It just feels so ridiculous to me personally.
I think it's okay to have strong opinions, but like on media, but it's the way that those opinions are expressed.
If they become your identity.
And how often they are expressed.
To me, it's more like an identity.
Right.
It's fine to have opinions. I have incredibly strong opinions about all sorts of things, but I don't know, like I don't even want to bring it up, but I'm bisexual, and nobody knows about me because it has absolutely no effect on any part of my life. In no way is that my identity. I just don't take it as mine because it's not really that interesting to me, and I don't see why other people would find it interesting either. So I never mention it. I mean, now I am, obviously, but that's just because of the example that came to my head. But to me, it's like, I don't know. There's just certain things that if you make them into who you are, what it's saying to me is there's just not that much going on. And why isn't there something going on? The world is so fascinating, and you don't need to be rich to experience the fascinating parts of this world. You just need to want to do them, to be a little less afraid of them, I suppose. And I always encourage people to break those little boundaries, go up that gondola, even if you're afraid. Fred, you gotta
Oh no,
get
like
to the top there.
Oh no. I think I told you this when I first started chatting with you. I'm a thalassophobe. I have a fear of open water, but I'm also a scuba diver. And I love scuba diving, even though I'm scared to death. And that's part of what's wonderful about it, though, is for a moment I'm forced to let go of my fear of death. It's freeing. My point being, fear isn't going to stop me from riding up the gondola. It just might make me hesitate for a split second.
Yeah, I just view it as sort of like a wall that makes sure that there's not that many people there. Just sort of keeps the others out. But I'm not a thrill seeker. I don't understand those who are like you had Jake on, and I think he's way riskier in his life than I am
Oh, for sure. Like that
because
man.
he
That
likes
man.
that.
No, that man is the definition of a mad lad.
Yeah, because he really enjoys it, which I think is cool. I mean, again, that's an adult identity. I'm not saying that's everybody's, but it's the sort of thing that can take up an entire life where you can actually benefit people by being yourself or not benefit them, just do your own thing. And from my point of view, my philosophical point of view, that's kind of the point of being here is just do your own thing and try not to be a total dick about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I really like a certain type of work. And that work is often whenever I see a specific person benefiting, and if I got to take a risk to get that, like I went to Somaliland to meet one woman who runs a hospital there, and I just knew I'd never get to meet her if I didn't go.
Yeah,
she couldn't come to me. She's in her 80s, so I had to go.
that was a
So
good episode.
It wasn't like I want to go to. Oh man, I gotta get Somaliland.
Right.
At no point in my life up until I read that woman's story did I ever think I'd go there. But I had to meet that woman. So to me, that's really the thing. And I think it's the same with him is you have these goals and achieving them, I think is sometimes taking huge risks, but I think he has far more love of the risk than I do.
Right.
I just, the risks are part and parcel of what I want out of it.
Mm. Yeah, I honestly don't know what I can add. You've spoken so like you've so nicely summed up everything that I possibly could have added. But suffice to say, yes. That's my response.
Somebody wrote here that they liked the Joker movie, kind of it. The character.
I still haven't
and
seen
I watched that on the plane, and all I could think was like, this is a rich person's guess of what being ostracized feels like. It just didn't really feel real to me. Like it didn't feel like truly being a loner. It felt like, I don't know. It's a comic book, so it obviously has to be.
Sure.
But I thought it almost hit the nail right, and then it was like, but why did it have to be Joker? That movie could have been done so well if it was not attached to the Batman universe.
Well, that's how you get people in the seats.
It didn't have to. Exactly, but like if they wanted to make the actual story about how society's running right now, I thought that maybe adding in the Batman side of it, kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking now might be I feel like we've been going for about an hour. Now might be a good time to wrap things up. How do you feel? Like that's how I'm feeling.
I'm totally fine with that. I've had a wonderful time.
Yeah, this has been great. I mean, I love listening to you talk anyway. We've had some fantastic, like, we've only talked, like, I think 4 times or something. We've only sat down to talk, like, 4 times. But, like, every time it's been, I feel like I've gotten so much out of it.
Yeah, maybe I'll try these, not this exact thing, but I'll sit down live things on my... I'd like to do stuff with my viewers, but...
Give it a go. I think it would suit your channel better than mine, frankly, because you're actually in your videos, right?
Sometimes. I've tried to get out of my videos. I wish I didn't have to.
but it's just sort of how it's set up now.
Thank you, Ishmael. I see that you're saying.
David Ives is wondering if I've played Subnautica. Yes, it terrified me the whole time, but I loved it. I adored it. It's the only open world game that I've really been able to get into beyond Breath of the Wild.
You like Breath of the Wild?
Oh yeah, no, Breath of the Wild is fantastic. I love it.
I only really play Europa Universalis, and they're like my 2, I don't know, super strategy games.
You were playing RimWorld.
I was playing RimWorld, right before the stream.
Yeah.
I'll probably go back to it after this.
Yeah. Oh, Internet Historian's asking how many aliens you've made love to.
Is he referring to the human variety?
I think he's referring to the Dame tu cosita version.
Yeah, once for space, not enough.
Not
Is how I'll
enough.
put it.
That's always the correct answer.
I hear that they work the prostate like you would not believe. They have experience.
Oh my god.
So, let's hope. There's always the future.
Let's check out the super chats before we close things up. Arcadius Winther is saying, never got into puer. Broke out my orange flower oolong you were saving. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm breaking out a lot of teas that I was saving for QuaranTea. And I've been enjoying all of them. I'm remembering, like, drinking this, I'm remembering why I'm not super into puer, but I'm also remembering why I bought it. It tastes like wood smells. You know what I mean? Like not buzzsawed wood, but like treated wood. And I know that sounds bad, but it actually
sounds horrible.
It sounds
so
quite
poorly.
wonderful. It sounds quite. It tastes quite wonderful. I like it. Yeah, Lou. Yeah, and then I addressed Lou's comment. Lou's the person. Lou is Grace and Glory, and Grace and Glory is the person who made the preview image for this. Arcadius Winther, thank you very much. No Man Bo, ISO 3103 speedrun when? I'm not... What? I'm missing that. Google time. Oh, 3-1. What is this? Oh, a standardized method for brewing tea. God damn it. Okay. Yeah, you see, this is how you know I'm a fake tea drinker. And then Arcadius Winther again. Hallo von einem sehr gelassenen Deutschen. Do you see that?
Yeah. Ich habe es gesehen.
And then Talons of Water. Are any of you two fans of the Total War series? I've yet to play them. I really need to. Right now, what I've been getting into is chess.
I've honestly never even heard of it.
Total War is a strategy game that looks very much like a top-down view of a Roman battle.
Oh, right on.
It plays that way. You command your troops, and they're in blocks. You have, so many dozen men in this unit, and then they march along, and, they take positions on hills. It's very interesting. I need to check it out.
Yeah, I'll give it a look, too.
All right. Well, hey, that's about it. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you all later. Like, this has been good. Evan, thank you very much for agreeing to come on. This is a very risky sort of stream, but I'm glad that I had you here.
All right, I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot.
It was good.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, I'll see you later. And hey, everyone out there, if you have any last few questions, go ahead and get them in real quick, and then we'll close up stream. Have any plans for doing a collab with Tom Scott? You two seem like very similar creatures. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't know that I exist. A lot of people don't know I exist. They might know, like, a video or two, but they don't really know down the rabbit hole. Like, they say, oh yeah, there was that one video on Dark Side Phil or whatever. And that's okay. You will cring. So, yeah, sub to Rare Earth. Go to Rare Earth and sub to him. His videos are amazing. If you want a nice introduction to his series, I know he's not proud of it, and he's going to wring my neck for saying this, but watch his video on pyramid schemes. Specifically, the pyramid scheme that brought down a country. Krim, quick thoughts on Juggalos. They're doing their thing. Maybe there are elements of them that I just don't know about that would make them terrible, but I mean, like, they're a fandom. They're a thing. They're chill. They're an identity like any other. And we were talking about identity earlier. Identity is just not something that terribly interests me. It's like, they're people. What would you suggest for a starter YouTube channel recording equipment? I looked into a USB mixer and a stage mic, but they're very costly. Yeah, I mean, you can also get USB mics, but be aware that they, a lot of times, will have sort of an upper limit as to the quality you can get from it. You can do better than Blue Yeti. Blue Yeti is overpriced. You can find other similar microphones, but quite frankly, I don't have a ton of knowledge in terms of USB mics. How often is his dad asked to Evan Hadfield's How often is Evan Hadfield's dad asked to donate sperm? Astronaut and Nobel Prize winners must go for a massive premium seed. What's that from? No, that was from the semenology book. Premium seed. Jesus Christ. Do you think you'll collab with or have collabed with Red Bard Kennedy? Red Bard makes some great videos, by the way. I'd probably never collab, but like, her videos are fantastic. I would recommend them for sure. Oh, and you have someone willing to help, Evan, if you ever decide to go to Syria. What program do I use for script writing? It's just Google Docs. It's just Google Docs. What kind of recording interface am I using? I've got a stage mic. This is an E838 Sennheiser, plugged into a USB mixing board that is plugged into my computer. I got the mixing board for really cheap. I got it for like over half off, barely used. Where's Jabroni Mike? He was already on earlier. All right, I think that this is a good place to call it. Thank you very much, everyone. I actually managed to keep the stream to the proper length this time. Had a good time. I'll catch everyone later. This has been good. See you very soon.